Good morning, everybody. Today is March 30th. It is 2020, and we are into our third week already. Can you believe it? Week 3 of distance learning. I am so excited that you're here with us. Those of you who have been joining on a regular basis, it's been awesome seeing your faces during our live sessions, reading your comments, and even better, just seeing how well you guys are doing on your understanding of economics and building those brochures based on the different types of market economies. So we are going to actually switch gears a bit this week. This week we're going to be taking a look into just a deeper dive for you to explore a specific country's economy. And we're going to walk you through that step by step. But for right now, let's go ahead and start off our day with one of my favorite things ever. And I figured since we're doing economics that I would share a corny economics joke. Shout out to Miss Ferreira for her video and calling me out about my corny jokes. I'm always happy to share those. And if you want to see them on a daily basis, then please follow me on IG at the Not Quite Couture Teacher. Anyhow, okay, so here's a joke that I found. I cannot take credit for this, so don't get too harsh with me with it. Where can you buy soup in bulk? Where can you buy soup in bulk? The stock market. Get it? Like soup stock? Like chicken stock? Beef stock? I know you're laughing. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started on today's lesson. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with all of you beautiful people, and we're going to get started on what we're doing today. So excuse all of this craziness. I've wanted to make sure that I was well prepared for you today. Anyhow, if you haven't already, go ahead and take out your worksheet. Or if you are not able to print, then you can just use a notebook to follow along with the things that we're going to be going over. And know that let's make this fun today. It's new information for a lot of you. So if you're feeling confused or you have lots of questions in regards to this, please write them down and then come to the live session tomorrow from 9:30 to 9:50. And ask those questions because your peers probably have the same thing and same wonderings going on. So anyhow, let's jump into this. So your competency this week, again, is read critically. That's like our whole unit. We're doing a lot of reading critically. And the PLD that we're working on is right here. So I can, excuse me, I can critique the main idea, claim, themes, its underlying value, beliefs, paradigms, and its potential or actual influence on society, drawing on textual evidence and making connections to contemporary issues, historical events, and or institutional structures regarding political, religious, cultural, racial, and defend my position. So with that said, that seems like a big, huge thing that we're looking at. Just keep in mind, we're gonna break that into little chunks, right? So we're gonna take a look at those main themes or ideas or claims based on a specific country that you're going to be taking a look at. And you're going to talk about the natural resources of that country and just by looking at textual evidence. And I'll give you websites, and of course you can always research on your own too, but just so you have a heads up on that and don't feel like, Missy, what are you doing to me? Okay, so your objective today, you're going to explain how natural resources influence society by drawing on textual evidence. Right? That seems like I can do that. That seems really small and simple to me. Our agenda, just to go over it, you guys are going to answer your discussion question. It's posted in your Google Classroom. So just hop on there, type up your little answer, and then check back again and reply to someone else's. It's always nice to see your guys' discussions going into the week, especially because it's going to help lead your understanding for the rest of the week as well. Okay, so we're going to find out more about renewable and non-renewable resources and how they impact society. We're going to do a little bit of information where you're going to find some information about comparing countries, and then there's a little bit of a response that you'll do as well. So let's jump into our discussion question here, just so everybody's aware of it. You'll want to take a look here. So what is your relationship with the natural world around you? think about what you eat on a daily basis. Where does it come from? What about where you live? What does shelter look like in your community? Think about anything that comes from the earth that you consume or use and make a list of those sources. So you're just making a list, maybe a little bit of an explanation. So one of my things that I do every day, and you guys know, is I drink coffee, right? Because my life is caffeine and a little bit of chaos and a whole lot of love. So I am enjoying my coffee. It did not come from here in the United States, right? This is not a resource that we typically have. Okay. So I just wanted to make that clear and just let you know, like, that is a resource. Okay. So here we go. We're going to get into our lesson really quick. We're going to take some notes. If you don't have a paper or printed copy, you can do one of two things. One, you can type right in the box on your own copy. Hello, I'm typing. The other thing that you can do is you can just use any old notebook to take some notes. Okay, so totally fine on however you want to do it. All right. Okay, so those of you in Miss D'Souza's class, you shout out Miss D'Souza. You guys have probably already learned a lot of this, and so I'm gonna really count on you to start leading those online discussions because you are so smart in this area, and she's like infiltrated so much information to you, and you guys have just absorbed it like little sponges. And so now it's time to wring out that sponge, right? Wring it out. Disperse that information to other people that you know. So the first thing is, what is a renewable source, right? Well, a renewable resource is anything that can renew itself or remake, right? So if we think about things like cotton, okay? So cotton is a resource that, hey, it's in your clothes, right? It's like everywhere you go. And that is something that can be grown and regrown and sustained in that way. I'm actually just gonna lower my laptop just a little bit. Like book stacked here. Okay. So that would be an example, right? So renewable resource is something that can be regrown or regained. An example, and we'll put a couple examples. So some examples would be like cotton. We can also take a look at thinking about it as like energy in the form of wind, right? Or sun. Other renewable resources we can think of are like really anything that can be, we'll say like agriculture. Okay, non-renewable resources are things that like once it's gone, it's gone. It's just done. There's not any way to replace it. So some of those big things, and you guys are going to be really familiar with this stuff, is like crude oil, right? So, or oil in general. It's not something that is renewable. Water is also like one of those, like their water can be a scarcity issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys pause for right now. And I want you to come up with a list of your own renewable and non-renewable sources. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause this. And I'm just going to give you a moment to do that. To take a few seconds. I'm just going to do a quick thing here. Okay, we're gonna go back to sharing our screen. And you guys probably came up with some other things, right? So like minerals, you probably came up with some other types of like coal and things like that, right? So agriculturally based, water as far as energy goes, we can do that because it's something that we can like recycle and reuse, but eventually it could be gone. All right, so you guys have a good understanding about renewable and non-renewable resources now. Now keep in mind, these resources are used by humans, right, in many ways and help our world to function. Because of the ability of technology and innovation, some countries are able to extract and use resources more than others. So this creates a distribution of wealth in the world that is often not equal. So if you are someone that's like super rich in these non-renewable resources, especially like the minerals and metals and things like that, you might have a higher income or a better economy if you have the technology that goes along with that to be able to help build your industry and your economy itself. But oftentimes that's actually not the case. So we're going to take a look at a couple maps because I think that these do a good job at explaining this. And so you're just going to scroll down to your next page. And this first map that you're looking at is going to show the gross domestic product per capita. So if you remember what gross domestic product is, it's basically how much money the country earns in a year per person, right? So if we look at the United States, which is in black, you're going to see that overall, and again, this isn't necessarily true for everybody, most certainly not, but if we take all the people and we divide all the wealth that the country earns, it's telling us that on average, our citizens are around $50,000 per person. Okay. And there's some other countries like Saudi Arabia, and then we can get into some of the Nordic countries that have that as well. So higher levels of gross domestic product. If we look at some of our other countries, especially in Africa, and this is where your country study is going to come from, you're going to notice that they're around or under $2,000. Some are in the, sorry, I'm looking closer because I'm old and I can't see very well. From like the 2 to 5K range, and that's a lot of Africa. However, if we scroll down to our second map, you're gonna notice, and I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger for y'all. Move my face up there. Okay, so you guys are gonna notice here when we're looking at this map now that this is a map of the different types of resources, and this is from your favorite website, the CIA Factbook, of what's going on where. So if we looked at Africa, like you're seeing like gold and oil, and there's coffee and diamonds, like all of these things that we think of as precious, and yet those countries are not performing well economically for the most part. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are in the realm of not actually having the technology to look into that. So I just want you to take a look at our Check for Understanding and take a minute to answer this question. So what conclusions can you draw when comparing the two maps? All right, so just pause your video and come back to me when you have that answer. Okay, so you guys probably came up with a conclusion that we partially discussed in the fact that when a country doesn't have the skill level or technology resources that they would need to extract those goods and service, or those goods, like bauxite or diamonds or gold or whatever it is, or oil even, other countries will come in and invest, and they'll take those resources away without necessarily putting all the money back into that country that would actually help it to rise economically, right? So keep that in mind. All right, I have some vocab for you this week. Just a couple things, you guys probably already know them, but I thought that we could go over them, and I'm gonna scoot us up. Sorry, Reptar. Reptar is here with us. He is, hello, there he is. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up a little bit. Maybe not. Okay, so I'll just go over them with you. So natural resources, keep in mind, right? So natural resources are going to be here. Natural resources are materials or substances that, like minerals, forest, water, that can be used for economic gains. Thank you, William. Okay. Geography is just like the land and its people, and how that the physical land helps to determine the distribution of people and goods and services. And then the last thing, shh, we have to be quiet. Mommy's filming. The last thing is exports, right? So those are goods and services that are sent out to other countries. So things like, in this case, coffee, right? So in this case, coffee. Or if you guys have your cell phones, right? There's lots of metals and things like that, and minerals that actually went into making the cell phone that we don't have here in the United States, but they have in other countries, and we extract them, or other companies extract them to build those resources. Okay, so what you guys are going to be doing, oh, also I've stuck in this little video here. If you're interested and you want to know like more about this specifically for Africa and for a lot of developing countries or developing economies, this video that's right here is pretty cool to watch. I want to say it's only like 15 minutes. I looked at it a couple weeks ago, but I thought it was pretty interesting, and it gave me some background and insight on how other countries are dealing and feeling with the process of their economic endeavors. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You are actually going to do a little mini, teeny tiny research project. And this, we're going to build it out each day this week. But you're going to choose an African country. The only one you can't choose is Rwanda, because I already did that one. Do you know why? Because Miss Mudavkana, that's where she's from. And she's awesome. And I know I didn't do it like enough about it, and she'll probably yell at me later. But anyways, so you guys can do an African, Asian, or South American country. I would love for you to focus on an African country because they're so rich in resources. And I think it's just such a crazy thing for you to have a better understanding of, especially as most of you are going to be entering and going out into the world. So you're going to do a quick investigation. There's just 6 questions that you'll have to answer. You can use the CIA World Factbook website. You guys know how to get there, but just in case, it's here. And then if you forgot how to use it, and you know that you want to look at Angola, we'll say, where did Angola go? So I'm going to go to Angola, and this is going to be the African country that I choose. And it's going to break it down for me in terms of geography and economy. And those are the 2 things that we are talking about now. So you'll just answer these questions, these 6 questions. What are the natural resources in the country? And then you're going to create a multimedia presentation. So those of you who are super familiar with Google Slides, awesome, keep that going. If you want to try a new venture, I used Prezi, and I will say it's not as easy as Google Slides because you have to change some of the like things on it. But you're welcome to view my attempt at doing this for you. And again, you just click on that link. It'll also be posted in your Google Classroom as an example. And if you want a template, I'll create a template also for Google Slides. If you want to do it for Prezi, then I'm going to ask that you just make it your own and do it that way. So anyhow, this is loading and it'll take a minute, but just take your time to take a look at what I have done on there. And don't I already have it up? Oops, let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, here. Okay, let's see if it'll let me do it here. Okay, so if I was just gonna zoom out, this is not what it'll look like normally. Zoom out. Okay, so would be what it looks like to start, and then like you can just click on each of these things or natural resources here, and then you zoom in, and then it's going to tell me about my natural resources. And then if you wanted to add each thing, you would add it here. So I put in my natural resources, then you zoom back out, and you get the idea. But each of those, well, not all of them because we're not there yet, but a bunch of these boxes are going to have information in there about your, that you can put in for your country to answer the questions. Okay, so that is that portion of it. Then you just create your multimedia presentation. Always, always, always do that works cited page. If you need help with it, let me know. You want to just add on the EasyBib add-on to Google Docs and just do it in a Google Doc. I'm perfectly happy with that. Okay, and then it's got to address all the countries, and then you want to make sure all of your questions about your specific country, and then of course you want to add in some visuals, right? Because that makes it nice and pretty. All right. So just to be sure, today we're going to go back to our objective again, which was you guys are going to explain how your natural resources influence society by drawing on textual evidence. Hi, Matt. And you're going to do that by creating a multimedia presentation in which you answer the specific questions that I gave you, and then create that multimedia presentation in whichever format that you choose. Okay, all right. So there's some resources that'll be posted in there for you, and then an ending discussion question posted as well. Again, I am so happy that you guys are here. I hope that everybody is safe and well, and always just feel free to reach out if you need anything regarding this class, or if you need me to get in touch with a teacher, I'm happy to do that for you. Just keep that in mind. Don't forget, tomorrow, your session is at 9:30 to 9:50. I'm also going to send out a survey to all of you because I'm missing your beautiful faces, and I really would like to see more of you. So maybe we need to look at a later time for our live session. So look for that in your email. Make sure you're following me on IG for updates. And as always, know that I miss you. I hope that you are safe, and email, text, call, or smoke signals if you need help of any kind. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Are you going to say bye, Will? No, he's not talking. He's kind of whiny. All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Take care.